The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast live. I believe this is episode number 122. We missed last week for obvious reasons. Most of you guys know that we were out in Vegas for SHOT Show, and some of us have just gotten back in the last couple of days. Some of us have been home since Friday night, Saturday night. Some of us have the SHOT Show plague. Some of us don't. It's interesting, but I think that you guys are starting to see some content roll out from everybody at SHOT Show, and what I like about it, I'll bring in Clover and Jeff here in a minute, but what I'm liking so far is kind of everyone's kind of doing something from a different take. And they might be the same products, but they're coming at it from a different angle. So you're not just flooded with 300 of the Glock 44 videos. It's maybe from a little different perspective. I do want to get a quick shout out real quick. Sandhill Shooters out there, and guys at, I want to say, is it 9 Central, 10 Eastern? Make sure you go check out Sandy's show. It's Get Off My Lawn podcast, but tonight he's got some good friends of all of ours in this room. He's got Cheryl and you got Cheryl Todd, Charlie Cook, Pincus, and Sedini are going to be joining him, having a cool discussion. So you guys all know them. We all know them, but go check out Sandy's podcast at 9 Central, 10 Eastern over on Sandhill Shooter, and that's going to be one heck of a conversation. So before we get going on the best and the worst of SHOT Show, let's welcome our homies in. From the head gearhead, the absolute big dog, big cheese, the commanding general of the gear army, man that needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce him anyway. Jeff, what is up, my homie?
It was funny you'd say general. They kept calling me lieutenant the whole time. I was Lieutenant, like, hey, wait a second.
Lieutenant Dan, ice cream.
Like, that's a backhanded compliment, I think. But
I don't know. And for Monday was my personal chauffeur. Just saying.
Glad we could help out.
Yeah, I'm sure you were.
Yeah.
I know, seriously, you were a lifesaver. I got left 3 separate times. 3 separate times.
You just don't take a hint, do you?
I guess he just doesn't like me. So it's whatever, you know. Yeah, man. And from Texas, we got the Tactical Virus. And the reason why I say that is I think he's got something from SHOT Show. But Clover, what's up, buddy?
Oh, man.
Yeah, and the sad thing is that he sounds so much better than he did on Friday. He sounded like
Friday was. I'm telling you, Friday was the worst day, without a doubt. I mean, I love my wife. She drove all the way into Flagstaff. We stayed the night there, of course, and got a full night's sleep. And yeah, I still didn't feel any better when I got up, unfortunately. But yeah, Friday was. I didn't know. I didn't know Friday if I was going to make it to Saturday. I mean, it was that bad. It was rough, and it's getting better, but it's a slow go.
Lieutenant Dan, you got your magic legs. That's my boat. So I want to start with Jeff because I left Friday, and I haven't talked to you since then, but you had what potentially could have been a freaking amazing day on Saturday with Battlefield Vegas. Did that happen?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. You would tell us a little about what you did? Or is that like top secret?
No, I'll tell everyone because you're going to want to see it. So as we release content over the next few weeks, or few weeks or months, you're going to want to go see it. I can only do so much justice to it verbally, but So we were at Battlefield Vegas at 7:30 in the morning, I think, and we left out of there about 8 o'clock and headed to. So I think most people know Battlefield Vegas is behind Circus Circus. It's a block off of the Strip, and it's an indoor shooting range with. It's got to be almost every kind of exotic firearm imaginable. They have it, and you can shoot them. So you go give them a little bit of money, and they will bring out the gun and the ammo on the range, and they'll load it for you and point you down range and say, "Okay, have fun." So that's pretty cool. And I'm a military vehicle guy and drive a Humvee, and they pick you up and take you to the range in a Humvee if you're going to the main range that's been there since 2008, I guess. So they just built a new range about 50 minutes away from the Strip that has it's set up like a forward operating base, like in Afghanistan or something. And it's in conjunction with a company that has helicopters. So Battlefield brought the machine guns. The other company brought the helicopter. You can literally get in a helicopter. They'll fly you around the mountain. You can unload a machine gun into the side of the mountain from the helicopter, and then they come back and land. And
oh, by the way, they pick you up in Humvees wherever you are.
Yeah.
So
they'll pick you up and then they'll drop you off too. Yeah. So
maybe I should have used them for Monday. I don't know.
might have been more reliable. But then so we shot. TJ and I went out there, and he shot the Mod Deuce off of an APC. It was mounted, in the turret of an APC. I shot the minigun from the turret of a Humvee, which was kind of neat because I have a Humvee with a turret, but I don't have a minigun. So that was kind of cool to be able to do that.
If you had a minigun, I'd move in with you. Just saying.
Okay.
I love miniguns.
Let's see. We shot I didn't even know what this was, like a small artillery piece called a Bofors. Does that make sense? I'm gonna have to Google it because I may be saying it wrong. But it was like a small artillery piece. The cartridge that went in it looked like an oversized bullet that was like 18 inches long and, almost as big around as like a soda can. Really neat. So TJ and I both got to shoot that. I did a flamethrower. They had a flamethrower and some little Nazi-looking guys that I roasted. Absolutely. Let's see, what else do we do?
So you slimed them, huh?
Yeah.
Barbecue.
And let's see. We rode in the APC, an M106, but we didn't get to drive it because I don't know if I'm even allowed to say who was there at this point, but at the time they said you can't tell anyone who's coming. Let's just say it was a large group of people spending a lot of money, and they had, they didn't want the paparazzi following them. So we were supposed to be the only ones out there. But then when these people called, said, "Hey, we want to give you lots of money," Battlefield said, "Okay." And let them come out. So instead of getting to drive the APC and the tank, they had an M60 tank. They were driving around too. Instead of getting to drive those, we just got a ride in the APC, and we didn't get to do the Tomcar. We didn't get to do the little four-wheeler, the Special Forces four-wheeler.
It sounds like a pretty shitty day then. You didn't get to really do much.
I know. I was kind of let down. No, it was really cool. And I mentioned all the things I mentioned are things that if you call them and say, "I want to do that," they're going to give you a dollar amount. And if you show up with that amount of money, you can do it.
Yeah.
And that's
now,
pretty cool.
Understand, was that a 40 millimeter anti-aircraft gun possibly?
I don't know.
That Boofer, whatever you were saying it was. Now, also, Jacob out there says he saw on YouTube there's a grenade machine gun. Yeah, there's an automatic grenade. It's called a Mark. Well, it was when I was in. It was called the Mark 19. It was a fully automatic grenade launcher, and it honestly, it's kind of. And Jeff, you'll know what I mean, and probably Clover does too. But the Mod Deuce, when you've got it on the ground, the Mark 19 was a lot like you had to brace it with your feet and all of that. But yeah, the Mark 19 automatic grenade launcher, and it was a bad some. We used to go down to the range and really just fuck up some old tanks and decommission stuff and all that stuff. So yeah, Mark 19 was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we didn't do that, and we didn't do mortars. That's the other thing that was on the list is we're going to shoot mortars, but then these celebrities wanted to come out, so they're like, "All right, we got to get you out of here a little quicker," which was cool because then we went back to Battlefield Vegas and had a free pass to do whatever we wanted there. We actually didn't shoot anything. We said, you know what, we've been shooting stuff all week. We've shot a variety of machine guns. We've already burned through a bunch of their ammo. You know, we're not going to bump the paying customers out of the way so we can shoot stuff. But I spent a couple hours in the shop where they work on the military vehicles, and then they have a museum lot that you can walk around and see all kinds of tanks and APCs and Humvees and other kind of vehicles. And then they have a back that so anyone can get to that. And then we went back behind in their storage lot where they have an Apache helicopter and 5 tons and Deuce and a Halfs and LMTVs and old Jeeps. They have 3 ferrets, the little British tiny little armored car things that I actually fit in. That was kind of neat. And the ferrets are parked beside the F-16. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a neat day. And we got to see them working on
was it a working Apache or just a shell?
No, see, they have the museum that's outside gets all these vehicles donated. Okay. And they have a certain time period where they have to get them on display. So that's what they're working on with those is static displays. And we got to watch them working on the turret system for a quad 50. So they didn't have the guns out, but they're working on the turret and feed system to get that up and running. But they'll actually have this quad 50 running soon.
There was a question. I'm going to start with Clover. We're going to go ahead and jump into this, but unknown user out there says, what's one product that shot show that made you say, are you kidding me? And I guess this could be, are you kidding me in a good way or a bad way? Clover, you want to start with it?
Well, I think in a good way, there was several, but 10 millimeter single action Army revolver.
That was that Heritage that did that?
Cimarron,
yeah. Yeah, I remember that night we were talking, you're like, oh my God, you know, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, a 10 millimeter revolver. So it's basically the old single Army that they've updated, I guess, with a cylinder to fit 10 mil. I mean, is it new parts? I mean, just the design of the old Army or what?
Yeah, it's a replica. So I mean, it looks like I didn't ask, didn't really get into it, but I'm almost positive the metallurgy would have to be different on that. 10 millimeters just way too much pressure if you was to take and somehow ream or hone everything out on an old single action Army. I don't think the frame would be strong enough to take it. So got to be something going on with metallurgy and some other stuff there, and that's one of the reasons it's a what the heck is this moment, you know?
Yeah, you know, there was something before I go to Jeff, and we can all kind of talk about this. I mean, you know, you guys have been around me enough, just jump in, but you know, I'll say something that for the last few years, you know, there's been a lot of talk that the industry has just not been really innovative. That everyone's just coming out with their version of the Black Scary rifle, and everyone's coming out with their version of this and that and all of that. I saw, and I don't know if you guys did, I saw a lot of innovation, not just at the pop-up review, where that's kind of where you expect it because they're the ones taking the chances. I saw a lot down the dungeon, but I even saw some really cool stuff on the main floor from the big companies, maybe pushing the envelope a little bit. And it was interesting because on your little Instagram chat last night, Clover, I can't remember what the question was, but you know, I chimed in saying, look, you know, it may not work right away, but the technology and the idea has to exist and has to be there for the next guy. And company A might not make it work, but company B and C 5-10 years down the road can really do something, but that's going to be there first. But I saw a lot of cool stuff this week that I was like, wow, you can have instant questions. Are you kidding me? Like, that's pretty badass.
Well, and things move so fast in this industry, not even 5 or 10 years down the road. I mean, you know, 2 or 3 months down the road. But what happens is something comes out and somebody, I don't know how to put this, I guess, but they fail to realize the concept of something has to exist before it can be perfected, right? An idea has to be realized, and so something gets released and all of a sudden just everybody jumps on it. Well, why is it not this? Why is it not that? Well, why does it not do this? Or, you know, whatever. And it's like, just chill for a little while, sit back. It just now released, so sit back and let's, you know, just chill for a minute. The after, you know, if the company doesn't deal with issues like, you know, extras or let's say threaded barrels or let's say magazine capacity or, you know, anything like that, if the company doesn't deal with it, then odds are the aftermarket is going to, but it's got to exist first. So just chill for a few months and let's see what happens.
Right. Jeff, let's go to you. Anything good or bad that sticks out in your mind that said, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So I'm sitting here, I'm flipping through business cards here.
Right.
Or yeah, because I came into this unprepared, right? And let's see. Wonder if
You
I
would
can,
expect nothing less.
can you see this one? Do
The
you see the little
vertical
tripod thing
grip.
down under there?
Yep.
Medieval? Is that the medieval?
It is. It
Mhm.
is. Someone was paying attention.
I've
I
had
thought
those
that was
folks
really
on
cool.
we had those folks on the podcast. Great folks, good product.
Yeah.
It was about 3 or 4 months ago, something like that. Yeah.
It's been a while. That was after they were at Pop Up. I want to say I met them at Pop Up Review last year.
Huh.
I remember that. Yeah, they're good people.
And that's where they were this year too. So, and I saw them at the range. They had something set up at Action Target with their little monopod with the tripod at the bottom and the different adjustments. And I walked by and I stopped and turned around and looked at it and was like,
What the
"Am I
hell?
seeing what I think I'm seeing?" And went and Steve gave me the little demo on how it worked, and I was out of time. I was actually on the way somewhere. Didn't even have time to talk to him, so I looked him up at the pop up, and I thought that was really neat.
Yeah. Jacob out there says he just looked up a lightweight 50 BMG, and Anzio Ironworks Corporation is selling a lightweight 50 BMG for $5,000. I get nervous when I start hearing the words lightweight 50 BMG floating around. I don't know what you mean by lightweight. Are you talking like a polymer? Because if it's a polymer blasting out a 50 BMG, I'm skeptical about that. It's a lot of energy.
How much is Serbu has got like a single shot 50 that's less than that, isn't it?
Well, there's 50s out there for less, but I'm hearing light. I just get nervous when I hear lightweight 50 BMG. That worries me a little bit, you know.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
It definitely makes my shoulder twitch.
right. You know, for me, someone out there, I think DTP out there says last night we were talking about the Blackwater thumb trigger when I was like, hey, it's got to be out there before it can get better. It's been out for almost a year now. I think that Iron Horse released it last year. The Blackwater version of it is basically the same principle, just their own twist on aesthetics of the rifle. But yeah, that was my number one, just because I think that it brings a whole lot of different. If you guys saw my video, if you haven't seen my video, I did a top 5 of my favorite products of SHOT Show, and the thumb trigger, the Tor, or now that Blackwater has kind of consumed Iron Horse, they're calling it the Blackwater Iron Horse, but it used to be the TOR. Anyways, I enjoyed it because it brings a whole lot of different things. You're talking about being able to shoot if you're maybe disabled or you have maybe arthritis or something, able to get 4 fingers around that grip and just control the trigger with your thumb is brilliant. Now we're talking whether it's hunting, precision shooting, you know, 3 gunning, whatever. you're going to see a lot less trigger jerk. You're going to have a lot more trigger discipline with that thumb, because it's damn near impossible to jerk it if all you're doing is pushing down with your thumb. So I think that, once again, who knows if this is going to work, but the technology and the idea, the innovation, you're talking about a different way of shooting a firearm. And that's innovative in itself. So I like, when I shot it, it fired very well. I don't know, Clover, if you shot it, or Jeff, you shot it.
I did.
I love the way it felt. I really did.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, I remember when, back when, I remember Iron Horse was gonna, try to get, let me get my hands on something in like a long range, like a 6.5 Creed or something with that Tor receiver to play around with. And I may have to, after playing with the stuff that Blackwater's got, either with Blackwater or get back with Iron Horse, either one, and
really get now Blackwater firearms,
right? Yeah. But eventually, and try to get the thing moving on that, right? Get the thing moving on that, because I really would. I mean, we really didn't have a lot of that. Was at Terry's, right, where we got to play with that, and we really didn't have the range out there. It would really be nice to play with that with a capable caliber at a long range, and see just how much it cuts down, trigger issues at long range.
Yeah, I think that it's got a lot of potential for a lot of, but I think that, in my opinion, I think that you're probably right. The 6.5 or the 308 or any of the long range calibers, I think in precision long range, whether it's hunting or just competition, I think that that's where that could probably have its most benefit. Once again, it's damn near impossible to jerk that thing. I mean, you're going to have to jerk it, yourself.
Where I think the issue with that comes in I don't know, I think I might have gotten into this just a little bit last night, but they were talking about it catching on. And I think the problem is, if you're talking a real true competition trigger, which we did experience a trigger that had the most amazing reset ever. If you've got, and a lot of the Hyperfire stuff is the same way, got to play with that. But if you've got a really nice trigger, that eliminates a lot of that pull too, because that thing breaks so quick that you don't have time to pull. And that's in a standard trigger. So they're fighting a couple things. First of all, they're fighting obviously cost. I mean, they've got to be able to get it out and get manufacturing costs down and be fairly competitive for what it is. They've got obviously promotion and publicity and just getting the word out, which we're doing now on that type of a system. But then, there's a reason the standard trigger systems have been around for as long as they are. And in the last quite a few years, I mean, how many trigger companies across the board, not just with your modern sporting rifle stuff, but across the board, how many different trigger companies have popped up in, let's say, the last decade alone? So there's a lot of There's a lot of innovation in the old school standard trigger market that they're going to have to overcome as well. But as far as apples to apples, it's a superior way to break a trigger for sure.
Absolutely. Weston says, anyone see the Fold AR? Jeff and I both saw them at ATAC. They had a booth. They weren't shooting them at ATAC, but they had a little tent and all that. They had all their different stuff. Yeah, that was pretty cool. We were talking to them, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, I'll have you jump in on this one as well. But to my best recollection, I was still kind of just shocked that I had been left. But anyways, their whole purpose, and not the whole purpose, but the biggest thing that behind it was law enforcement, and the idea for them was like motorcycle cops over in Europe to be able to have a saddlebag and be able to have an AR in a saddlebag of their motorcycle, be able to pull it up, and then now you have it. So they had like a little, I don't know what you'd call it, but the size of like a camera bag, damn near.
Messenger
they had
bag.
Hold it into it. Pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was that little shoulder bag, and you barely put a normal pistol in it. It was really something else how small it was fitting in there. But that's the double fold. So the single fold with a carbon length barrel, just folds a gun in half. Then you get the double fold and put a short pistol barrel on it. and it becomes tiny,
like this big. I
Yeah,
mean, literally
yeah.
this big. It's pretty cool.
and that a hinge on one side and then that latch that folds back on the other. Not as simple as the double has the dead foot arms folder on the back, and you just kind of click it in place and shoot. Fold it and it'll lock itself, and then you can push a button to unlock it and fold it. So the, as you would expect, the barrel on the front end takes a little bit more work than that.
Yes,
because you have to latch it and then unlatch it when you're ready to break it down, but it's not much more.
They were at pop-up review too. I don't know if anybody. I went by and got some video and talked to them.
Review.
And actually, two of their employees live within about 30 or 40 miles of me. So it was really interesting to see that too.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Let me get back up here. Talking about the Kel-Tec Sub 2000. That was a pretty high volume topic people were talking about. Someone was talking about the Sky. Okay, Misha, how about the free Sky with the price of a red dot? I'll say this. I did a video, and the Sky was my number 5. And the only reason, not that it was innovative or anything like that, but I think that the redemption factor for Sky, I think that this could bring them back to where if the DVG1 missed, and that's 2 straight guns for them that really missed, you're looking at Sky being in trouble. This one I think is going to be a home run. You're talking about a $299 gun with iron sights, a $399 or $389, whatever, with the red dot. Striker fired, 9mm subcompact. It felt good in my hand. I really, I'm not a big Sky fan, but it felt good, and I think they're going to sell a shit ton of them. For me, I'll say this. The one company I think that's going to have an absolute potentially have a monster year is PSA. Not only did they just go ape shit with the AKs, and there's some great looking AKs. Yeah. They've got a handgun coming out. And once again, for the second year in a row, maybe possibly the PS5 coming out by Christmas. Who knows? I'm not holding my breath. But PSA, they did something. They made a conscious effort in the last year to say, we're going after the AK American market, and they got some good stuff coming. What do you guys think about PSA?
Yeah, the PS9 is exciting. It is. Mainly because of the $300 price point.
Really, but it's good.
Yeah, so it's an interesting discussion when you talk about Sky. And you're right. The CPX 3 and 4 were both 380s, and I think given the capacity that you find in small 9s from a lot of other companies, the 380 is kind of pointless. So when they came out with that, was it a year or two ago? I was like, man, that just falls right on its face. Heavy trigger, it's
literally like a 10, 12 pound trigger. And that's not a joke. It was a heavy trigger.
So the DVG1, I was getting kind of excited about. And then I go down to PSA and I'm talking to Chad and he says, oh, you saw you saw our new pistol, right? And I look at it and I'm like, he said $300. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. So this kind of assuming that it works. So here's the flip side of PSA. And I've toured their facilities. I like them. One of my guys was out shooting with Chad, the PSA CEO, this weekend, because they live kind of close to each other and they get together sometimes. So I love the brand. I think they're great people, but they seem to stay a step or two ahead of their competence when it comes to developing and releasing firearms. So I fully expect that the first batch of these pistols, and I hate to say it because I know that they have an engineering team working to make sure this isn't what happens, but it seems to happen anyway, is they're going to have issues and it's going to be 6 months or a year before they get it sorted out. So that's my expectation there. I expect what I've seen out of Sky is less issues like that. So I expect that the Sky will be more reliable than the PSA pistol. But as soon as PSA gets that dialed in, then Sky's irrelevant again.
Yeah. The Mossberg MC2, I really like the way that shot. I was surprised at the MC2. Like that one. I'm gonna let Clover touch on this one. It's more FUD-ish. This question is what about the newest Henry? I think you've got one of the new Henrys, do you not?
No, I have. Well, yeah, I've got the Texas Tribute Edition. That's not really the new Henry. It's the fancy version of the Golden Boy.
I thought you got the axe or something.
No,
like
but now Budget Guns and Gear was
that's
able
right.
to
It was
get
Budget
one. So
got that. Okay, that's
he'll
right.
He'll have some reviews and stuff on that before too long. No, a simple answer for that question: Henry was not there.
There you go. I didn't even. Well, I wouldn't have gone if they were, but I did not know they weren't there.
Yeah, so there you go. They were not there.
Why? Did they ever say why?
They didn't tell me why we had the conversation. I don't remember telling me why. They did tell me they were going to be in Vegas. They were going to be at the show. They just were not going to have a booth or anything. Okay. And they were there mainly because they are a sponsor of the Cowboy. So, the big fight that went on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Which they may have to rethink after that fight.
40 seconds. If that fight happens 5 years ago, it's a hell of a fight. I was over at Sedini's house and we were watching it, and one of his local friends that was there, he said it's going to be a first round knockout. And I was like, no way. I figured McGregor was going to win. It's going to go 2 or 3. 40 seconds into it, McGregor breaks a dude's nose with his shoulder. Keith Gregory, I did not shoot the Glock 44. I was only at range day for a few hours, and I had other things I needed to get done besides waiting in line for 40 minutes. Clover, Jeff, I think you both did. Any thoughts on the 44?
Well, I'll let Jeff hit it first if he wants to.
I didn't do any. This is my 4th range day, 5th shot show, 4th range day, and I have yet to set foot in the Glock Bay at range day.
There you go.
It's just they don't have anything interesting enough for me to take my time there.
I like Glock. I respect Glock for what it is. I own many of them. I'm not going to wait in 40-minute line to shoot anything.
We hit it at the end. We hit it at the end of the day, and it wasn't too bad of a wait. Really, the only weights we had, I'm trying to think, was at Chris. Yeah, Chris. Chris and Glock are two that's always. There's several. There's always going to be some kind of a wait, and so. But yeah, we had to wait maybe 10 minutes. 15.
Maxim had a pretty big line as well.
Yeah. As far as the G44, I got one coming. Nice. And why? Because I shot it, and it's freaking phenomenal. Period. I've got absolutely. There's nothing I could figure out or say bad about it. It's.
So you hadn't seen all the pictures on the internet.
I'm wondering the story behind the pictures. I've seen the pictures. I've had a bajillion people say, have you seen this? I want the story. And sadly, you're not going to get the truth behind it. So I'm going to get my hands on the one. I'm going to run through and see. What are they doing? Are they using and abusing? Because, you do that with any freaking 22 out there just about, and you're going to have a problem. So maybe we're talking about people that shoot a lot of 9s, shoot a lot of 45. They shoot a lot of heavier polymer stuff. They shoot a lot of steel frame stuff, and they're not as in tune with 22 long rifle as I am, and they're just taking it to a center fire extreme, and that's what's happening. Maybe, I don't know, but from my experience with SHOT Show, it's phenomenal. I've got nothing bad to say about it at all.
So let me ask you this: since you kind of shot the 44 towards the tail end of the day, I'm assuming that there were thousands and thousands of rounds put through that. So by then, that gun's broken in for damn sure. Mm-hmm. How was the trigger? How was it?
It was a Glock. It was a Glock trigger. Okay. It was a Glock trigger. Right. We had this conversation. I don't know if you and I had this conversation when we were down with Tandem Cross in the booth, or if that was a private conversation I had with him.
But I don't remember.
But we were talking with Brian, the owner, and I think you were there when we were talking about that, about potentially Tandem Cross, who is they're the Mac Daddy in the aftermarket, competition 22 parts, and about what could they do with the Glock 44 to enhance some things. And the trigger leaves something. I mean, it's not a competition ready trigger. It's a Glock,
Sure.
just a standard Glock trigger. So when, like I said earlier, when aftermarket, that doesn't make it a bad pistol though. But when aftermarket, the stuff catches on and whatever, it'll just get better. And that was something that I actually experienced. You talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up. Talking about these range days and thousands and thousands of rounds being shot through them, right? Because I had somebody asked me about the Colt Python, and they've asked me about the G22, and they've asked me about a couple other ones, and it's insane. I'm trying to think, the Century shotguns at Antares, Antares wasn't near the range day.
Was badass,
It was having some issues because of just so many rounds being put through it that day. Yeah. But there was several others. The Bishop booth comes to mind with some issues that was going on simply because of the amount of rounds. I mean, you're talking about extractor wear, you're talking about ejector wear, you're talking about just all kinds of issues when you put that many rounds through something in such a short period of time. So that got me to thinking that when we base bad stuff, like bad things that happen on range day, especially toward the end of these range days, should we maybe take a step back and look at how many rounds has been fired, right? Because that's really
I don't think we should. If I'm a brand taking something new, I'm going to rotate guns. I'm not putting all that wear on one. So, I think
they might
get hands-on experience, and all we can report on is what our experience is. That's what we have to judge them by.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we have to. I totally agree with that. But what I'm saying is, in the back of my mind, I've got that, now with the Bishop thing, they didn't have multiples to go through. Glock probably did. And Glock probably also had, and the Century people in Antares, I think, was the same way with Blackwater. I don't think they brought a bunch to rotate through. But the bigger companies, there's probably no doubt they do. And they probably have staff that can at least, spray some cleaner through them every now and then or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, but the short answer is either you clean it, maintain it, keep it running, or you get judged on it failing.
That's true.
True.
Yeah, it's on the company either way. I got you.
Right. Someone out there wanted to, I can't remember, I'm sorry. I can't remember who it was, but someone asked, most oddball gun you saw at SHOT Show. Jeff, most oddball gun.
Oh, most oddball gun. I don't know. I'll tell you the one that made me go, what in the world? I didn't say what in the world, but something like that. And it looked like a phenomenal gun. So I hate to call it out like this, but it was Atlas, I think it was a 2011, not a 1911.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful gun. Everything about it looked, handcrafted and awesome. But the texture they chose for the grips on all of them, grabbed at your hand to the extent that I was like, holy crap, this is going to turn into a cheese grater,
Right.
So that's the most bizarre thing I saw was like, why in the world would someone put this kind of grabby, texture cheese grater on the grip of a pistol?
Yeah. Clove, most oddball, doesn't have to be gun, most oddball thing that you saw?
Well, that was G-Webs.
You're right. Most oddball thing. There you go. Could be Jeff even. I mean, I'm just saying.
Jeff with 17 waters and donuts in his pockets.
Oh, I mean, my God. Yeah.
A walking commissary,
Right.
It was in TJ.
I shot one that there was one that was not on my list. I mean, everybody should know from listening to me that I kind of had a list for range day. And I had time and stuff that there was a couple of booths. I was like, well, why not? Right. Because there really wasn't a line there and it was right next door to a booth I was just at or whatever. And we were making good time. And one of those was Keltec. And I've never shot that CP33. And I'm kind of glad I did because Tandem Cross does a lot of performance parts for the CP33. So now I've got a little experience with that. Potentially can work some things with those companies out or whatever. But walked in there and went to shoot the CP33. They had one that was suppressed, had a suppressor on it. So I thought, cool, picked it up, and the red dot, the battery was out in the red dot. So we had to pull the red dot off and of course, shoot at iron sight, which was fine. The sights were plenty high enough to clear the suppressor. And that thing was fun, and it ran fine. In talking with some other people, those CP33s aren't the most reliable pistols in the world, apparently. And maybe it was the suppressor and some back pressure or something else going on that helped with the reliability. I didn't have any problem. I shot it. My wife shot it. Didn't have any issues with it. Fun as all get out. But a couple of things. The manual of arms on it was a little bit funky, and the feel was a little bit funky. But that's Kel-Tec, I think. I have that issue. It seems like with every single Kel-Tec out there.
Say what you want to about Kel-Tec. Kel-Tec could be one of the most innovative companies around. They always come up with some weird stuff that people laugh at, but they're trying. They're working hard.
The CEO apparently does. He never says no to a design. He's like, let's put the safety here, or make it this way, or the mag release here. And make it this way.
Is not the CEO of Kel-Tec,
right? And the decision maker with Kel-Tec's like, sure, let's try that. I don't think they ever get told no.
I do want to send a shout out to Mandatory Carry. He says at work and short this week. Sorry, my friend, I am short every week, so I feel your pain. Welcome to my world. But thank you for that, my friend. Thank you very much. He says, keep fighting. I want to try to keep fighting, but for someone who's not 2A, I was told last week that I was not 2A. So whatever. Let's go down here. Unknown user says, any non-gun items catch your eye, either gun accessory or just gun-related product? I'll start on this one. Yeah. On my top 5, the number 3 was from Axion Optics, and it's called the Second Zero. And if you guys go watch the video, it's one of those things where you can zero your scope either at 100-yard zero. I usually will set my dots and scopes at a 5,200 zero. So whatever, but it's one of those things that it mounts on top rail of Picatinny, and it flips up, and you can go to 300 or to 500, and it's a prism that basically allocates for the projectile bullet drop to where you don't have to. You can go from 100 to 500 and not have to change your dope on your scope. You flip this up, and it's already zeroed in for that. And now you can just go ahead and set those crosshairs like you normally would. If you have to hold a little bit for wind or whatever, but you don't have to adjust for drop at the 500-yard range, changing from 100 yards. So I thought that was really, I shot probably 10 or 15 rounds through it at different distances. So I was really impressed with, it's from Axion Optics, called the Second Zero. It's phenomenal. And, let's start with Clover on this one. Any like non-gun / trigger accessories or anything cool out there that you remember?
Yeah, but before I get to that, I'm not feeling well. I'm gonna rant a little bit here.
Okay, go for it.
You mentioned Axion, and so I got to rant. So just like Iron Horse, I've also had Axion on the freaking podcast months and months and months ago. So I don't know. I'm ahead of my time or something. What's going on with this? Because I find these companies and these products and this stuff months and months and months before people get their eyes on them. It's like I'm an early adopter in that bell curve or something. And
if you're following the rainbow to that pot of gold.
I don't know what it is, but it's funny because people are like, oh,
eventually there's going to be a product come out, so I want to get ahead of it. I stalk them now. A year from now, I can say I'm ahead of the curve.
I guess so, but it just sucks because people come up and they find these things and they're like, oh, X number 5. And I'm like, yeah, I know those guys. I've dealt with those guys for a year now. What's the deal? But anyway, as far as me, much like Jeff and his cards, I don't have my cards in front of me, so I do not remember the name of the company.
Won't say Jeff and carts.
I said cards. We can talk about cards later for darn sure.
We'll get to those.
But yeah, most.
Jeff,
you know,
by
you
the way,
talk about,
Jeff wanted one, which is
well,
hilarious.
the title said something about the best and worst. I think the worst
Yes.
is always the carts. Always, we can. That's just a given.
No, I had something worse this year.
Did you?
Now they've gone to the electric fucking buggies.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Those fuckers.
That's true. So
Except
anyway,
thank you, Dave.
I've yeah, his was cool. With like I said, without having all my business cards in front of me, I can't remember the company, but there was a company that had a rifle rest, and it was a modular system that you could put on a bench at the range. You could put in a deer blind. You could attach it to a tree stand. I mean, they had all these different attachments and rails. It looked like an erector set. And I know that's old school. I don't even know if they make erector sets anymore, but that's almost what it looked like, was an erector set. And it was a rifle rest, and you could fashion all these different pieces and get, where you had swinging arms and it would articulate however you needed to articulate. Just a really cool rifle rest setup. And again, they were in pop-up review. I don't remember their name. Hopefully they're listening to this. They forgive me for not being able to plug them, but something about real rest or final rest or something like that.
You know, I think I remember that. I remember walking by and seeing that.
They were on the end. They were on the end of the aisle at the back of the room.
Yeah, if you're making a turn around. Yep. I remember seeing it going, that's interesting, and I didn't stop. Yeah, I remember that. Yep. Jeffrey, what about you? Any of those oddball things that kind of you remember?
I do, yeah. So something that was not gun related at all, that we saw it on the floor, and I think I'd seen it before in the LEO section downstairs. That it's called Tomcar. It's like a dune buggy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That looked really cool. So as we always do, my crew sneaks in. Would have been Sunday night. I think it was Sunday night. Yeah, we always sneak in and give ourselves a tour when the booths are being set up. And they had it out there, and I did a walk around video of it. I was like, oh, this thing just looks awesome. So then we get to ATAC. We go to the big range day, Monday afternoon. We go over to ATAC, and they had one. And the guy took us for a ride, and it was something else. I mean, coming.
Jay was saying there were a couple times that he thought he was going to get thrown out, but smooth as anything.
Oh yeah. And this coming from a guy who drives a military Humvee on a daily basis. You know, I was like, oh, this little thing's awesome. So yeah, that was cool. The Mantis, their Mantis X. The X10, you know what I'm talking about? It's a little, it goes on the rail on a pistol or on a rail on a rifle, anywhere you have a rail. And I've liked these for years because you can get some trigger pull coaching using this through your application.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so we got some a few years ago. They sent some more out to us last year. But I'm dying to get this new one because it has some additional metrics that I think are going to be very useful. Like when we're doing rifle testing, it has some recoil analysis where it can give you accurate measurements on the recoil, the duration of the impulse, the intensity of the impulse, things like that.
Now, Clover was excited about Mantis because they also have applications for shotguns and for archery.
Archery, yeah.
The archery thing is kind of interesting, you know. And I'm not an archery guy, but I was talking with Clover, and he was nerding out on this because there's a lot of metrics that can be really valuable for archery as well.
Yeah. Something else that was non-firearm related. I mean, it could be or could not be. I'm seeing more of the big heavy duty carbon fiber tripods, and you can use it as a shooting rest tripod or for photography.
Clover.
What's that?
Don't bring the tripod up to Clover. His got stolen.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me.
Whoever
out there has my tripod, screw you.
Wow. Yeah, sorry to hear about that.
So let's kind of transition a little bit away from products for a minute and talk about after hour stuff parties. What are some of the good ones? And we went to a lot of the same ones, obviously, but we went to separate ones as well. But let's start with Clover on this. Tell good, bad parties. Did you have any bad ones?
Well, we went to all the same ones, but
no, not all of them. You didn't go to any marine stuff.
Well, I mean, you went to all the same ones I did.
Yeah, okay.
Well, no, I mean, technically, you didn't go out to eat with the.
I didn't go out to eat with Full Mag.
Anyway, one thing on the parties that I'll mention is that I caught wind of more parties this year. It's just I wasn't able to get an invite because I'm not at that level or whatever, right? But I did catch wind of more parties going on. Of course, they were invite only, and there's no way I could crash them. No, the parties, we definitely upped our party game this year, for sure, and it paid dividends in way more than spades. It was amazing. I mean, I guess you could call the Gun Channels thing in a way a party, and that's always fun every year. That buffet we went to was off the chain. In fact, we went back to it. It was so good. What was it? Thursday night, I guess. We were like, what are we going to go eat? So anyway, we went and hit up that buffet again because it was awesome. So that was fun. Then Monday night, I mean, first time we'd ever hung out with the Antares folks Monday night. So, I mean, that was fun and talked a little shop about, the future of Antares and
we had a conversation with Casey. That was great.
Yeah, that was a business meeting and even maybe grease the wheels for some work with Fiocchi or something with that. Fiocchi or however you want to. Anyway, Tuesday was the Brownells party that we made, and my wife made special. My wife went to the Girl in the Gun party that night.
Yeah, she did.
Too, and met us over at Brownells. So she had two that night. We only had one, losers. But the Brownells party was amazing as far as networking. Talking to a shop and what we needed to do, working together and moving the ball forward, and then just having fun and hanging out and being real people. The Brownells party was amazing for that. The music could have been better. Or none at all. I would have actually preferred in that setting. And then Wednesday, of course, dinner with the dealer was awesome. We do that just every year, and then got the invite to the Do-All outdoor party. And I actually got two invites from two separate places for that party. And for me, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to take up any more time than I have to, but I know for me that making that party, you and my wife enjoyed it because it was an open bar. I was kind of the designated driver there, but
is that Sedini's party also?
Yeah.
I was fucked up that night.
That was the Do-All party. It was Do-All swagger, Rambo carts, or whatever, Rambo bikes or whatever they are, and then Walk the Talk America. It was like 5 or 6 companies that apparently pitched in for that party. But yeah, that wasn't good in the sense it wasn't the same as the Brownells party, right? Because that was kind of there was a little bit of networking, but not a lot. That was more of a let your hair down, kind of have fun. But for me, had I not went, the contacts would not have been made to follow up on the following day. That turned out to be so amazing for me and the channel in the future moving forward.
The Brownells ended up being at one point is me, you, Armintia, Jeff, TJ, and a guy from Polaris Optics was there, and Jeff and TJ were on a mission to find food. And the first party they went to that night didn't provide food at a pizza place nonetheless. And Brownells did not provide free food. And so they actually left pretty early to go find a third party to hopefully find food, which I don't think they did. We'll get Jeff here in a minute. But what happened at Brownells that night later on was unbelievable. The conversations that were had with the people that were in the conversations was pretty amazing, coming from so many different ways of looking at two-way. It was a wonderful talk. For me, yeah, I had multiple parties pretty much every night. But for me, it was definitely the thrill was 2 different parties: the Marine party on Monday night at the Leatherneck Club, and then the Recon and Sniper Foundation party at Leatherneck on Wednesday night. The reason why it was a thrill is I didn't know that Leatherneck Club existed. And now, Wednesday night, there were probably close to 300-400 people there at that party, and it was awesome. Old Marines and young Marines, and I met a guy that was at the Chosin Reservoir in Korea, which I never met a frozen Chosin, which is unbelievable. Ironically, so Jeff, you'll remember this, but in Marine Corps boot camp, I think they probably do it in Army as well, but in Marine Corps boot camp, when we're in boot camp, we have to learn the chain of command: Commandant of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, all the way down, blah, blah, blah. So you learn those names, and they're just absolutely just branded in your mind for the rest of your life, because if you didn't know them, you're going to go through living hell. And I was talking to a brother of mine, and he was like, you were in the same time I was, basically. It's like, yeah. And he goes, do you remember Sergeant Major Overstreet? And I was like, Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps? Yeah, I remember that fucker, just because I had to know his name. He was there, and he had his cowboy hat on. So I walked over to him, and he was just in there eating like shrimp or whatever. And I said, Sergeant Major Overstreet. And he goes, how you doing, Marine? And I was like, I just want to say that there are only a couple names in my life that I will never, ever, ever forget. And yours is one of them. He says, you must have been in boot camp in the mid-90s. And I was like, yes, I was. He was like, you have no idea how many people come up to me and say, I will never forget your name. But meeting Sergeant Major Overstreet, obviously meeting a Marine from the Frozen Chosin was unbelievable. The contacts and the brotherhood that you make, knowing that every time I go to Vegas now, there's a home for me. No matter what happens, if I need a place to crash, they've got cots in the back that you can crash at for free. So it's one of those that, yeah, it was awesome.
And you got to meet Mother too. Which night was that?
I'm sorry?
You got to meet Mother.
That was Wednesday night. So Wednesday night was the party. And if you guys are familiar with Full Metal Jacket Mother, the tail gunner from the Hilo, the chopper,
the gunner or whatever, yeah,
the gunner, he was there. And ironically, the story is we've all heard a story about Ermi. Now, Ermi was a consultant there to try to get the current actor to be the real drill instructor. Didn't pay off that well, so they just brought Ermi in and said, you're now the drill instructor for Full Metal Jacket. Interesting thing. Mother was the original drill instructor. He was a Marine, but he just wasn't good enough at the job. So they put Ermi in. Ironically, his character didn't exist for 2 years. They had already paid him for a spot in the movie, so they had to create some character. They didn't film his scenes until 2 years after they made a wrap the rest of the movie. They were in post-production. It was really an interesting story. So he signed a picture for me. And it was really, really cool. So, yeah, the Marine parties for me, yes, I had a great time at Brownells. Yes, had a great time at Aunt Terry's. Had a great time at Walk the Talk. Had a great time at all the other ones I went to. For me, it was the Marine party Monday night was awesome. And the Recon party on Wednesday was phenomenal. So those were my highlights. Let's bring Jeff in. Jeff finally found some food on maybe like Wednesday night or something, but apparently he hit the mother load of food at this party.
He found the pot of gold, so to speak.
He found a pot of gold. Yeah. You want to tell us about your party experience this year, Jeffrey?
I'm trying to remember. I'm blanking on that one. Alan saved the day. On that one. Oh, it was Go Safe. That's what it was. On Wednesday, Go Safe had the dinner, and Go Safe is magazine. They have a magazine insert for a pistol that you can put in and then lock it. Like
okay, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's a solid shape like a magazine, or they have a magazine itself that can be locked. So it blocks the trigger, so that even if they're targeting law enforcement, people who duty carry, that have places where they need to safe the weapon. So instead of dropping the mag, racking the slide, they can just put the key in the bottom and lock it. And then if they need to get to it quick, it's, pretty quick to unlock it, I guess is what they're saying. So that one had great food. That was catered, high class, heavy hors d'oeuvres, they called it. Alan hit that one out of the park for us from a food standpoint. It was some interesting discussion and information on the product as well. And something I had always avoided before that we started doing this year was hitting the booth beer towards the end of the day on the show floor. Yeah. So Raiton Optics and Aero Precision and Quarter Circle 10 all had booth beer, and there were several others that, honestly, there were a few that we just saw beer and kind of we're walking down the aisle and we kind of veer to the right to go by where the beer is and snag it and keep going, which probably wasn't very nice, but it was very much appreciated to all the brands who supplied beer that way. And we were able to do that because we decided early on that we weren't going to go to any range events during the week. So we would do Antares and ATAC, and we actually skipped the STI one on
Crash SIG for a second.
yeah. We used the urinal at SIG, and that was it. So we knew we were going to go to several range days early. We said, you know what, we're not going to, the moment any alcohol touches your lips at shot, you're done for the day as far as shooting live firearms. So, any day that we did booth beer, it was like, well, we're not going to a range to shoot afterwards. And that was fine because, we shot enough already during the week. And we knew TJ and I were going to go later. So Zahal Media Group, I don't know what they were thinking, booking Giordano's Pizza for their party, but we show up and there's no pizza. They didn't provide anything. They said, if you stick around for 3 or 4 hours, we'll do some patch trading at the end. We're like, really? Okay, bye. And then we went to Brownells. And Brownells, I got to tell you, I got the vibe that they're, whatever they're calling their propaganda bureau, that those people were paid to be there, all of the big influencers. And it kind of ticked me off. It's like, okay, if they're spending money, why don't they spread it around and get us some drinks and some food, even if it's real light? Spend the same money and spread it around instead of we're there for free and the other people are there being paid.
Yeah. Now, we'll say this, Ashley at Gunstreamer's out in the chat, and part of that 3-hour conversation was Ashley and Paul and Austin were there, and I think we probably all at some point had our own little discussions with at least Ashley and Paul and maybe not all together, but it was great to talk with them again and kind of get some insight on some things. And yeah, the cool thing is we talked a little bit business for a while, but they're friends. And that's the really cool thing about the parties is you can talk all business that you want to talk, but you can also talk friend stuff, if you want. But it was great to catch up with Ashley and Paul again and all of that.
So the other one was really good that we did.
Yep.
And I'll encourage anyone else who's in the area during SHOT. Every year, Wild West Guns has an open house. They call it the SHOT Show Kegger. And it's not just SHOT people, it's open. You need to let them know you're going to be there so they have the right amount of food and open bar and all that. But you get to see their production facility, and they have a small museum on site, and it's really cool. They have a bunch of gunsmithing students from various gunsmith schools that they bring in and actually do some presentations and pictures with them and really kind of open up their facility and their gunsmiths to say, hey, we want to be a resource to you. And I thought that was really cool. Wild West Guns, I can't remember. I want to say Joe. Jeremy is the son that runs the Vegas shop, and I may be wrong.
Dad.
What's that?
Jim's the dad.
Jim. Okay, I was saying Joe is Jim. Okay, Jim is the one that's in Alaska and runs that shop then, and they were both there. And Jim gave a tour of the little museum they have in the front and talked about some of the historically significant guns in in their collection there, and I thought that was really neat. And it was very much kind of anti-Vegas, where people were wanting to go out and get blitzed and have loud music and strobe lights going, and that's a Vegas party. And I was really happy to get away from that to an environment that had some nice food and good people. And we talked to a couple different brand people there and saw some cool stuff.
Yep. I want to say hey to Sna. I want to kind of catch you up a little bit and ask a couple questions real quick. What's the most oddball thing? Doesn't have to be firearm related, but most oddball product that you remember this past week?
That dang glove was pretty oddball.
That glove. Oh, I forgot about Sarge. Oh my God, that was awesome. Yeah, Sarge.
I let them idiots talk me into that. That was a terrible idea.
Did you do it also?
Oh yeah, mine's on Instagram. You have to go see it.
Okay.
I didn't disappear like Sarge.
My ass off. Oh my God, it was hilarious. The great thing was a microphone. All you hear is.
I had Sarge's camera and I didn't even know he fell. I was like, where did he go? He just gone. It's like gone.
It was great. And you and I have talked about this kind of privately and all that, but just for those kind of for the first time, for people that are thinking about going next year, maybe for the first time, can you kind of talk about what your expectations were ahead of time, and now that you've been there and you got home, what you thought compared to those expectations?
It was great. I didn't realize my expectations, I think, were set kind of low compared to being at like NRAM and stuff, as far as people just being friendly to you as companies being friendly to you as media and stuff. There, everyone's glad to see you, glad to talk to you. They have no issue speaking with you at all. Everybody treats you basically equal as everybody, just nice as can be.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I got to meet Jeff, and that was pretty anticlimactic, but
Wow.
I mean, I had to sit across from him at Wild West Guns party, so Yeah,
well, Jeff in a private setting is something else. No.
Well, at Wild West, you got to witness me commanding my minions, which is something I really enjoy.
Griping because they didn't go get him drinks is all I heard.
Right. The so you went to the Wild West party. What was your take on that? Because did you guys go to the Girardelli's or whatever party earlier in the week?
Giordano's? No, we went to Giordano's Saturday night to eat, and then we went back on Friday night and ate, but no, we didn't go to no other parties. We were too busy trying to get stuff done and stuff.
Right.
And too lazy.
You guys were putting out a lot of content, which is awesome. They're saying Clover's been a mouse. Clover had to step away for a second. He'll be back in a minute. That's why he hasn't been talking. That if there's an open mic available, Clover is going to be fucking talking. So for a second.
Wild West was awesome. We'd talked to Jeremy, way back when in April in Tulsa's where I got to know Jeremy at, and then again at NRAM, and then again in Tulsa again in the fall. Then we went and seen him at the show, and he told us the first April he got to come to our party. Yeah, when you're in Vegas. So we made sure, and then we went by his booth. He's like, "You guys better be there." So yeah, we went. I had a blast. I don't think there's anybody nicer than that guy right there. Jeremy West, just one of the nicest, genuine nice guy. I think him and his dad both were. Yeah,
it's interesting because my first year. I don't think we went anywhere except for the Gun Channels party. We didn't go anywhere. Last year we started going and play a lot, like one a night. This year we had multiple, but we tell people that's kind of where the good stuff happens is, you're going to get them at a booth and you're going to get their best 2 or 3 minute spiel. But the after event is where you get to see them and meet them and talk to them in a more relaxed way. And if you are planning on going to SHOT, there are a lot of parties that are not invite only. You can go to parties your first year, that it's open to the public. And if you're going to go, then at least one night, go find a party that's public, that's on Facebook or whatever, and it's worth it. It is worth it to go because you never know who's going to be there, first of all. But two, that's where you network. And when you network, then then you get invited. Hey, if you're not busy tomorrow night, we're having a party, or I got some friends that are having a party. Come on to that, and that's how it kind of spreads. So, and it sounds crazy. It sounds like you're sitting there partying in Vegas. That's really not what it is. One night I got hammered. That was thanks to the Marine Corps party. I got hammered, but the other nights you could just sit there in a corner like we did at Brownells, literally sitting there in a corner L couch. And for 3 hours, you've got Pincus, KD, Maj, me, Clover, Ashley at Gunstreamer,
Big Tony,
the Puerto Rican Pistolero was there. I mean, it's just, and you sit there for 3 hours and you're just like, we're talking two-way stuff that it just kind of happened. It's like everyone's saying hey to each other. We all said hey to each other. And the next thing you know, the Virginia rally came up, and that started this beautiful conversation for almost 3 hours. And that's where the good stuff is. Go ahead.
And the murder there in the mall murders.
That's right. That night was was the shooting, the murder. A fight broke out in a mall and 3 people were murdered. Yeah.
Yep. Right across from SHOT Show.
Yeah. Did anybody get any gambling done? I mean,
no comment.
We played the penny slots for what, like an hour after we had the gun channels.
We played twice.
Yeah,
both times we went to the buffet.
That was just more to have
the lure and
bucks or so, you know.
And yeah, it's I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out something. I told my wife, I think it was on the drive home or something. I'm like, if I've got the vehicle, then I'm gonna have to say, if you want to stay and do that, that's fine. But I'm leaving. You're gonna have to catch an Uber when you get done. Because
I Ubered a lot this
week. Between both those nights, I lost $100. And my problem is, and if we had stayed any longer, I'd have lost more, because I'm a gambler. Kind of like an alcoholic is always an alcoholic. I did have an issue years ago with gambling, and I can't moderate it. I have to stay away from it. And I've done a great job up until this point in going to SHOT Show. I've done a great job at moderating it, but with you and my wife partaking of it and everything, and me, it got the best of me this year. I couldn't help it.
I hear you. Now, interesting thing is, I think all of us in this room were at rental places instead of hotels. So this was our first year at SHOT Show to get a rental. We usually stay at a casino. Snob was at a rental. Jeff, you guys were at a rental for most of the week. In comparison to casinos, if someone's going next year that either hasn't gotten a rental or never been to SHOT Show, just jump out there. You don't have to go in any specific order, but compare casinos versus getting a rental, the pros and cons.
I think if it's just 1 or 2 people where you can be in a room, then it probably doesn't matter too much.
Yeah.
But if you have enough that you would need more than one room, then being in a rental where you can all be in the same building makes it exponentially easier.
Yeah. Snob, what were you guys experience having the rental? Was it something that you think
it was great? It was great, other than, our rule, we couldn't park in a driveway, and that was the easiest way to find our house whenever we drove in, because it was the only only house without cars in a driveway.
There you go.
Other than that, it was great. It was great. We had the guys from gunnersden.com, Joe and Josh, with us, so and then us 4 were all there, so it worked out really good, though. It was a big, nice house.
Clover and I, and we stayed together as we usually do, but this year we got a rental place, and I'll go into my spiel in a minute, but I want to bring you in and say, comparison to the casino we stayed the last couple of years versus this, were you happy? What were your thoughts in the rental place?
I was happy. I mean, the neighborhood wasn't the greatest, but I think the security was great on the place. I mean, it was double, triple, quadruple lock for somebody to try to get in. So I was really happy with that. And then it was a nice place. as far as on the inside and the amenities and things you had access to, the room you had, and other stuff. And then as far as distance, we were closer than we were from the casino in previous years. And like honestly, like a straight shot, right? We were like go down one block, and then we were like a straight shot.
Left and turn right, and we're there. Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was awesome.
Yep. And it was kind of close to where we go for the Gun Channels meetup. We were 5 minutes from there, unless you take Clover's GPS and get us 10 minutes in the wrong direction. But
and we were what, a block or two, maybe three from the main highway that takes you to the ranges.
Take you to both ranges. Yep.
We were just right there, jump on that interstate and done.
Yeah, I think it took us 15 minutes to get to Antares and half an hour to get to Boulder.
Maybe.
It was great. Maybe. It was great. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I know that there was I didn't have any issues. Clover had some issues maybe with the Wi-Fi and internet there at the house. I didn't have any problems, but yeah, it was a 2-story little place. It was perfect size for us, and we had 3 of us there, and never had any issues with bathrooms, never had any issues with anything. And it's nice to know that if you're not going to be able to get to events at night, or if you just want to stay home and cook yourself, having that kitchen, going to the grocery store and getting some pasta and stuff real cheap, you could eat every night and have your own kitchen instead of having to go out and buy stuff. It was nice. I enjoy it. So, I mean, I don't foresee, unless we absolutely have to, staying at a casino again. I don't foresee staying in a casino anytime soon.
Yeah, me neither.
Let's see here. Ashley says, I just have to say I'm glad we didn't drive her truck down this year. She loves a truck, but she doesn't fit many places down there. You got a pretty large vehicle there. So driving a big ass truck in Vegas is not fun. So was it Thursday night or Wednesday night? It was Wednesday night. We went over to Swagger WTTA's party at the Mirage, literally like 0.3 of a mile away from where we were. And we decided to take the car because we knew that we were going to be leaving from there. We could have walked in the bridge and taken us about 6 minutes to get there. And it took us 25 minutes from garage to garage at 0.3 of a mile. So we learned our lesson on that one. Mm-hmm. Then again, I'm not so sure that I would have probably needed to walk anywhere, because that was right. I was pretty hammered when I showed up.
Yeah, y'all wouldn't have been much good trying to walk back for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I met you guys there, and I haven't been drunk in 6 years, so it was fun for me to be drunk again.
Well, y'all weren't. Neither one of you were horrible.
Oh, I wasn't like
you were definitely
passed out. I was just in a really good buzz. Yeah.
Yeah, you were definitely 10 foot tall and bulletproof, but I wouldn't say you was 6 sheets.
No, I was not 6 sheets. All right, so let's go through. We're going to start hanging this up. I want to go through this one. This will be a fun one. And worst product that you saw. Snob, is there anything that stands out? You said they will not be here tomorrow because their company's going to be going under.
There was something, but I can't remember what it was now. Dang it.
I'll come back to you. Yeah. Jeff, do you remember anything that you sit there and said, God bless them, but we won't see you next year?
Yeah. I don't remember what it was called, because I literally didn't want to make eye contact with them because of what you said. I mean, and no joke at all. Like, I was like, oh, no, TJ, keep walking. No, don't talk to, keep going. It was some sort of sites, and I think it was in the upstairs LE room, like over by Daniel Defense, or maybe back behind that. If you go, you know what I mean. You go through that room into the kind of the eastern edge of the main room on the second floor. Oh, you're blanking. I don't see any recognition there. They were back there somewhere.
I remember. I'm trying to remember. No, I remember the room. I'm just trying to remember if I saw like weird ass sites or something.
It was pistol sights. And so if you got, okay, let's say Let me find a dark card here that'll hold up. All right, so this will be the top of the slide. Let me get it in front of me here, and then it would come up and over and down like a box on it, and it had like two little dots up here in the top of the box.
Okay.
And I looked at it, and the thing sat like an inch above the slide. And
I saw something real similar to that was mine, and it was in a dungeon though, across from Wild West Guns. Really goofy.
Maybe that's where I saw it. I don't know, but
it was like square and had little fiber optic fingers that stuck in, almost like a bow sight. It was goofy, and it was huge on the top of a pistol.
Right. Maybe it was downstairs that I saw it. Clearly, I don't have a good recollection on that, but I think we saw the same thing because I looked at it and I literally just was like, "Get me away from here!" before they try to talk to me.
Yeah. Was that what you were going to say, Snob?
As soon as he said sights, it came back to me what it was because I seen him and I walked by there. I was like, "What is this?" And I picked it up, looked at it. I was like, "That is horrible. It's big as a red dot."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they. Yeah, I guess I don't remember seeing those. I'm glad I didn't because I probably would have said something like "Rest in peace, my child." You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Clover. What about you? Anything that made you say, sorry for you?
The High Point booth.
I never even saw the High Point booth.
That was just a joke. I was being silly. I didn't either. I didn't go by there.
I never went by High Point this time. I don't know why. I love High Point.
But I'm thinking, and it was like not really. But I think there's a reason for that. I mean, there was probably a few things if I really have time to consider and kind of backtrack and think about where I went at the pop-up review. Yeah, there was probably a few things. But for the most part, I don't really have that issue because obviously I don't seek out crappy stuff. And I try to set my sights on things that look interesting. And if they look interesting, they're likely not going to be crappy. So unless I just catch something in passing, and unfortunately, there's nothing that sticks out. Quite honestly, I've seen a lot of innovation.
Yeah, I was floored by the positive innovation that I saw this year across the board at SHOT. For me, there were a couple, and nothing really stood out as like, God, that's just you just made a terrible mistake. I think that there were products that were good products, but their marketing strategies and demographics they were going after needed to be revamped. I did see, I don't know if you guys saw in the pop-up review, a lot of Chinese products up there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, who knows if they're going to be around or they're going to be around under a different name. There's no telling, but I saw a lot more Chinese products than I have in years past. So who knows what they're going to do.
So did you stop and talk to the Chinese companies?
No,
I just, as a rule, kept on walking.
Oh yeah,
I learned that real quick in the pop. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I learned real quick in the pop-up preview not to make eye contact because they will corner you up there.
Yes. You literally are talking about companies that quite literally may have everything on the line. You know, so they want to get as many people to their booth as they can. So I try to, and I don't know what you guys do. I try to look, if I'm going down an aisle, I'll look 3 or 4 booths ahead at one time. I'm not looking at one right in front of. And do I see something? Do I see something? Do I see something? And then I'll stop at one I see. But most of the time, I'm trying to just go. If you do get close to a booth and you make eye contact, you better have 20 minutes. Just saying. My only issue with the Chinese companies is I get spammed enough on a daily basis in email. I don't have to meet them in person.
Right.
You know, I'm getting that shit all the time. And some of this stuff, honestly, isn't terrible. You know, it really isn't. Let's be real. But like I said, I don't go to SHOT Show to meet people that I can talk on email literally every day. I want to go see products that are innovative and all that. There was a company that I think will do well if they figure out their marketing. It was some SWAT stuff, a helmet and goggles and some plate carriers. They were really, really cool, little different designs and everything. And I thought they were really, really cool, but they're focusing on everything as LEO and all of that. I told them, said, yeah, LEO is great, But if you want to touch a market that they use the same shit that LEO does, you need to start marketing towards some of the airsoft and paintball stuff. These people use a lot of the same helmets and masks and goggles and plate carriers and all that if you just focus on the LEO and you don't make many sales, there is a whole huge market. Now, I don't know if you guys did. I saw a shit ton of airsofter companies and people at SHOT this year that I hadn't seen. Maybe I was just oblivious the last few years, but did you guys notice there's a bunch of airsoft stuff going on as well?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that new, or was that, if I just missed it the last few years?
I think you just missed it.
I think
okay.
so too. Yeah.
I'm not a big airsoft guy. I just happened to notice them this year. I don't know. But anyways, Ghost, did you see the vertical grip on the knife that had a knife in the handle? A vertical grip that had a knife in the hand? No, I don't remember seeing that. You guys remember seeing anything about that?
No, I didn't.
Negative.
Like a vertical grip for like an AR that has a knife on it? I don't remember seeing that, but that sounds interesting. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, it was fun. I like I said, for me, Tuesday or Monday at range day at industry day at the range, the official range day was eerie. It was quiet. It was very few people there, in my opinion, compared to the last couple of years, and it had a weird vibe to it. Mm-hmm. Tuesday morning for me at SHOT was quiet, eerie, no vibe whatsoever. I was a little nervous, and we all had discussions, I think, about this is weird. Is anyone having a weird experience so far? For me, Tuesday afternoon turned in pretty damn good, and the rest of the week was unbelievable. And when you start talking about everything as a whole, this was my favorite SHOT show, and I think potential down the road has the potential of being the best SHOT show for us, for me. So far. So I want to get, Snob was his first one. There's really nothing we could compare it to, but I want to bring Jeff in and say, how did this SHOT show overall rack up in comparison to previous ones for you?
I went with such a different approach, and what my goals were different, and how I went about it was so radically different. I did notice what a lot of people were talking about, that there seemed to be markedly fewer people. From the standpoint of trying to engage brands about if they need help with reviews, it seemed like in prior years, many of them, especially a couple days in, were just shell-shocked. You even talk about, you mentioned the word review and their eyes glaze over. And I was talking to people late Thursday into Friday who seemed like, maybe no one had even asked them about doing reviews yet.
Right.
So yeah, that was a little bit different, but I had 80 meetings booked last year. I had 3 booked this year. So
yeah, I had approach. 4, and I started out with 3, and I ended up with 4 at an FN meeting, which I might be able to do some work done with FN this year, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, overall, did you like the vibe? I mean, did it, was it compared to last couple of years? I mean, how did you think about the vibe?
Well, what, who you're talking to, right? So what do you think threw me right away? What threw me and kind of had me ticked off at the beginning from range day? Like when we walk in to the big range day, what did I ask? And immediately I was pissed off the rest of the day.
The communication devices?
No.
Oh, you were pretty upset about the communication. Oh, no more food at range day. They did not provide us lunch.
Exactly, because we had, they may have said that in an email or something, but we were all planning that was a part of our plan, is they always give us lunch. So we didn't bring food with us. And then we get there and it's like you get the little coffee coupon. And of course, the line for coffee was so long that I doubt
well, not only did you get coffee, but the last couple of years you got like what do you call them? The
Yeti cup or the Arctic or the Yeti cup
coffee cups. Yeah, they didn't have those and no free food. What the hell?
Yeah, so I was upset about that to begin with. which led to me playing kick the cart during the actual show floor part. Which, I hear they're not going to allow the RSR carts anymore, which I have mixed feelings about, because it gave me someone to be angry at.
Right.
And it gave me something to do. I mean, TJ developed this little game of, as we're walking, dropping our trash in the RSR carts as they went by. So that was fun.
Now, we did find a secret hideout for where they keep those things. We might have to start reconning that a little bit ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but apparently, at least the word is they're not going to be allowed to have them. That'll change the vibe. But I mean, as far as the initial early in the week, did I feel like it was a different vibe? My approach was so incredibly different in that I wasn't sprinting from meeting to meeting to meeting and frazzled all day, that I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that and exactly what I predicted was going to happen happened with Alan, where, I mean, what did I tell you before? TJ, AJ, we're going to be a good team. Alan's going to do whatever he wants and not listen, and that's exactly what happened. So
he did score a nice dinner for you, so that makes it all work.
He did. If he weren't such a nice guy, he'd really tick me off. But
I heard that not less than 20 times Thursday night.
Yeah.
Snob, I want to come back to you and say, talking to someone maybe out there who's trying to get the shot for the first time next year, anything that you remember that said, man, I wish I would have known this ahead of time?
Well, just learning the layout was a big thing, and figuring out where everything was, and the app was, horrible but great at the same time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of learning the layout was probably the biggest thing to learn, because it takes forever to get, and learning the kind of that there's escalators at the food court and all that where you can sneak around and not have to go out in the halls. And
absolutely.
And I didn't learn about the back smoking deck until like Wednesday.
Oh, yeah? Oh, really?
Like Wednesday afternoon.
That's a great one. Yeah. I want to say, Clover, who was it? Was it Frank that took us out there?
Yeah.
The original time? Like, where the hell are we going? He goes, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to a place. And no, we usually go outside because it's down below, because we're usually by the dungeon.
Right.
But a couple of years ago, when he was with SAR, they were on that upper level, and he took us out there. And yeah, that's a great little. Not many people still to this day know about that, which is great. Don't tell me what it's kind of like G's parking place.
Oh, you're not even supposed to. Never mind.
Yeah. Chloe, what about you? Good, bad, and different in comparison to previous years?
I think that I think it's going to end up, despite how weird, it's weird is just the word that comes to mind, how weird it was shot this year. I think its potential is going to turn out to be the most lucrative, let's say. I'm not talking necessarily about money, because there's no money in this, but contacts made, potential T&E opportunities, so forth and so on. The whole range day thing, and Terry's, we talked about that, and Terry's is growing by leaps and bounds, and Terry's was off the chain awesome, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We get to range day, and the no food, we've already talked about that, definitely a turn off. It was a beautiful day, so that was one good thing about the range day. But I'd heard tell after range day that they cut back on the number of people they allowed in, at the same time that they raised the cost of the manufacturers to.
Yeah, the whole top area of the corner was empty this year. There was no one in the booth.
Yeah.
The whole area.
And so they did that in an effort, the reasoning, and again, I heard the reasoning was to cut down on lines, because lines was a problem. If we're trying to do content, we can't wait 30, 45 minutes in a line. And I totally understand that. So they've got to figure out something on range day, I think. And I don't know that didn't set the tone a little bit coming into Tuesday and all. But Tuesday was definitely a lull until about lunch. It was really like, is anything happening? Is this really going on? And then about lunch, it kind of started to pick up. And then the rest of the week, it was like there was sporadic periods of energy. It wasn't total energy like we've seen in the past, but it would be like nothing. And all of a sudden, bam, for an hour, it was just gangbusters, right? It was just all this energy. And then all of a sudden it'd die out. And then and an hour or two later, it hit again. You know, you catch a stride or something again. As far as going into the booths and talking with people and meeting with people, yeah, the reception was good. I didn't approach anybody with, except for the last day, just doing a little fun video, which I released that today. I didn't approach anybody to do any video, and I didn't approach anybody as far as doing T&E necessarily or anything like that. I went in because I heard this year, and I'm glad that I did make this approach. I went in and I cut off one of their excuses. I tried to cut it off at the pass, which is we don't deal with YouTubers or like dealing with, you know, blah blah blah, sending stuff out because people never follow up, right? They get the stuff and they never hear from them again. People just want free stuff, right? And we all know that if you get stuff from a manufacturer, that's work that you have to do. There's not really anything free about that. And so I approached it from the standpoint that, hey, here's an invite to the podcast. Totally understand. I don't want you to send me anything or nothing like that. I want to make the first step here. I want to invite you on the podcast to get to know each other a little bit. We've talked about all this in the past, this approach, and I executed it pretty well. I mean, people were appreciative and responsive to that, and ultimately, you know, things happen for a reason. And had I not had that approach, you know, it makes me wonder. You know, the big deal that I scored would do all outdoors. It makes me wonder if that would have even been a possibility this year, because when I went in Thursday over to that booth after the party and all, and we sit down on the couches there and had the discussion, the first thing that came out of their mouth was, we haven't worked with influencers and YouTube and whatever for years. We have in-house professional people that do our stuff because we've been burned so much. But we hear good things about what you're doing and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we want to try to kick this off and have some regular people playing around and testing and using our products. So, yeah, I think that, and we can talk even Ghost about the Black Rambo thing, right? Where people were walking in the booth. So these companies are seemingly getting more and more tired of. I had seen somebody had said something, I think we were on the way home, and I seen an Instagram post or something to where it was a Facebook post in a SHOT Show group that I'm on and it said that they were sick of, and I don't get this, somebody on this panel or in the chat can explain this to me if you know, but they said they were sick and tired of people this year coming into their booth as influencers, quote unquote influencers, that had less than 100 followers on Instagram wanting free stuff. And first of all, I didn't know Instagram was, I didn't even know that you could get in on Instagram. So that blew my mind.
People that are only doing Instagram, just saying.
Well, yeah, but less than 100 followers. If you got a bunch of followers, I can understand that, you know, yeah, okay, opened up, whatever. But you know, the point is there's people that are coming in and just asking for stuff right off the bat that have no clout. They have really no interest in the company. They have no, you know, interest in a relationship or anything like that. So their approach is very selfish. And I think that hurts us. And I think moving forward, that's going to continue to hurt us. And I think we're going to have to learn to develop ways to communicate with these companies that they understand that those of us that are interested in working with and helping the industry and the community, genuinely interested in that, not in making money or just getting free stuff, a way to communicate that sets us apart from everybody else.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. It's wonderful we have this technology, right, where everybody can turn a camera on, but it's a double-edged sword at the same time, unfortunately.
Yep. Ashley out there was saying that on the gun streamer side, it was a complete 180. Last year, no one had really heard of them. This year, they had people walk them. Hey, I've heard of you, or remember the logo and all that. So yeah, they hit it pretty hard last year. That was pretty big. So Snob lost $160 pair of Oakleys, huh?
Yes, I was not real happy. It was cloudy, so I was putting them on my hat when I wasn't shooting.
Right.
And then somehow or another, I pulled them off with my ears or something.
Oh, that sucks. Jacob said thoughts on the results of the Gundies. Yeah, I mean, the great thing about the Gundies is the fans voted. And so how can you argue with the results when the fans voted? And I think they, for the most part, I would say that some of the winners, but I would say that most of the final four in each category, I had no problem with that. I mean, you could probably go each category and pick four guys that you thought, or gals that you thought were going to be there, and they were all there. I was happy for Sportsman's Guide to be among the final four for most involved brand, because they truly are. A lot of people don't realize that Sportsman Guys does so much behind the scenes with people, myself, Clover included. So Sportsman's Guide, I was happy for them. I was upset that they didn't win, but Arrow Precision wins that. I mean, how can you not? I mean, Arrow's everywhere. I mean, they are involved. So
they dumped a lot into 1639.
Yeah, they dumped a shit ton of money. For me personally, I didn't expect ever to do anything. I think total votes, I'd go back and look. It was like 821 total votes. I'm happy that 821 times people voted for me. So thank you out there. But you're talking about 300,000 votes being casted. 800 is not going to get you. But no, I love the fact that I got 800 votes. That was pretty awesome. So thank you to that. But no, I think it's great. I think that there's going to be more. And I think Clover actually talked to them a little bit. So maybe they start getting into more 2A, like favorite 2A activists, favorite, different things. I think that this being the first year was a great start. And I think that they're going to, I think that they're going to do great in the next.
They were at the Brownells party. Well, I don't know that they were inside at the Brownells party, but there for a while, there was quite a few people hanging around outside the little.
Yeah, there was.
Whatever it was. And they were out there actually.
When that girl came out and sing, it just got loud and kind of weird.
Yeah, I walked out there for a second. I don't remember why, but I walked up there for a second and I talked to them for just a few minutes. They were around and they were out there.
TPC, this will be the last question. TPC says, you're welcome. Thank you, Ashley, for all that you're doing. And we had a great conversation. And the next year, I'm looking forward to Gun Streamer and all that. TPC says, how about putting together a press kit about your channel with feedback from other companies you've done reviews for? Simple, straight up marketing. I have a 1-page press kit and a 3-page press kit that I keep on me at all times. If they want to ask for it, typically if they're worried about press kits, then I don't really, I mean, if you can have a 3-minute conversation with someone, at least I can read or not, whether or not they're interested or not. I really don't want to have to try to sell myself to anybody. If they're not interested, I'll walk to one of the other 2,500 companies that may have the same product. So I do carry them. But I did not give out one the entire week I was there. Not one.
Yeah.
Do you guys take press kits or use them at all?
No, I've got it, but I don't. I mean, I'll send one out through email occasionally, but
right.
the best relationships, and that's what I'm looking for. The best relationships with companies do not come from a press kit.
Yeah.
Right.
I've had one for years, but I haven't updated it in probably 2 years.
Right. I think I updated mine in October just to have it updated. I do it once a year before shot just in case, but I have never given one out ever at a show. So, Snob, what about you? Any press kits you handle those?
I ain't got no stinking press kit.
Right.
I'm just a redneck. I ain't no fancy person.
So yeah.
Can I ask a question before we close it out? Something that
hell yeah, I got nothing but time, bro.
Something I think was important, and we can run this through and get everybody else's opinion. This was asked actually on my Instagram last night, and I'm curious everybody else's opinion too. We'll just talk about the gun bunnies. I mean, that comes up anytime you have SHOT Show. I mean, somebody always has to mention the gun bunnies, right? And sure. I've seen a steady decline of booth babe, gun bunny, cleavage and skin showing. I've seen a steady decline in that and a pretty sharp spike in legit female gun owners, legit, 2A hunting, whatever. And especially this year, did you guys notice the same thing, that it seemed like that this was almost the year of the women?
Yeah, most definitely. I think there was the year of two things: the year of the 22, which we've discussed, and the year of the woman. What the DC Project did, and outside of DC Project, I mean, you've got a handful of legitimate, awesome, amazing people that just happen to be women. Amanda, Cheryl, Carrie Ann, your wife, Carrie, Skip, Corinne was there, Jade was there. You're talking about a lot of legitimate, awesome people that just happy women, and it's nice to see that happening. But yeah, I would say that there are still attractive women at booths, but I noticed them a lot this year, like button-down shirts or golf shirts, and I think they were trying to get that. I actually know what the hell I'm talking about instead of look at my tits or whatever, you know what it was. So yeah, I did notice last year, but this year I might have seen only a couple legit booth babes this year. What about Jeff, Snob? Would you guys notice much, or did you see a trend happening there?
When I started going to SHOT, that's what a lot of people talked about.
Yeah.
And I was actually surprised when I ran across a booth that had them this year. And it was like when you look into the eyes of a booth babe, and it's like, ain't nobody home.
This get creepy, guys. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, but the ones who actually the ladies who are in the booths who shoot and know their products, and
yeah,
you can have a conversation about the products with them. The booth babes, they kind of piss me off because it's like, I don't have time for this. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been married for a couple decades. I have no illusions of, enticing a booth babe. Most of them don't like balding dad bod, so they're not even a distraction. They're just annoying to me.
Yeah, they are.
As much as carts,
I will avoid them. If is there a booth with a booth babe, I'm probably avoiding that booth, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Clove?
Oh, I was asking Jeff. Annoying as much as carts?
No.
Okay.
Nope. He said no. Very plainly, no.
I didn't see that many, and I'd always heard about them at SHOT, and I really didn't see very many. And I did several interviews with women at booths that, like Rachel Kimber and stuff, just very very knowledgeable, well dressed.
They're actually employees of the company, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, not somebody hired just to go to SHOT and look pretty in front of the booth.
Yeah.
So it to me, it was a traffic flow thing, and I intentionally attempted to take my crew into the back corner downstairs first thing. I'm thinking kind of what's the typical flow going to be? People start at the main entry points and spread out, right? So we headed to the back corner and work our way back towards them. Well, apparently that's where all the freaking RSR cart people went to, because they were everywhere. Oh, it's driving me nuts.
So that's how you started out SHOT Show, huh? Was the wave of carts.
I heard you all talking about this in those pre-chats about these stupid carts. I didn't realize how much I would hate them by the end of the show.
Oh my! How many times did your shins get destroyed?
Oh yeah, and that wasn't as bad as the stinking rascals though. Them suckers will just run right over you if they're driving a little rascal.
I told you those things pissed me off more this year than because there was like a couple around last year, the electric carts, but they were like legitimate, like old guys or guys had knee braces on or crutches. This year there were just people that just didn't want to fucking walk.
Yep, that's what I thought of a lot of people. I mean, I could have used one myself, to be honest, by the last day or two. But
right. Mia wants to know what RSR cart is. Imagine a foldable milk crate on a fucking stick with wheels. And all these people are going around, and you can definitely tell most of the time they're gun shops or whatever. They're going around collecting pamphlets and catalogs and stickers and swag, and they are literally pulling a milk cart on wheels behind them and could care less that there are 70,000 people trying to get work done, and they'll run over toes, they'll go around corners, hit your shins. They could care less about you. Those damn carts. Jeff punted one this week, and you're my hero.
Punted card.
That video.
It gets me kind of excited just thinking about it.
He waits all year. Hey,
this is excited as Jeff's face gets. This is ecstatic.
Speaking of the carts, I don't notice carts as bad at NRA.
No.
Well, consumers are there.
Well, that's true.
And this is, I've thought about this. Okay. Believe it or not, I've thought about this.
RSR's not there fucking providing them for free.
Well, right. But at an industry show, we're all business partners. We're all generally trying to be nice to each other. You get consumers involved, they don't give a shit. So they'll kick them. They'll cuss at people, I think it's a safer environment to do stupid shit when you're among just industry, because people are trying to play nice.
Unless you're around Jeff.
Even at SHOT Show, I was amazed with running from this location to that, because you're in a fast, brisk, really walking fast, trying to get cut down as much time as possible, right? That are just
they don't understand our problems. Like, we have to step twice for their one step.
Well, that's true too.
Problem.
But the amount of people in something even like SHOT Show, because there's just lollygagging around down the aisles, just looking, and you're like, oh my god, I got stuff to do, get out of the way.
Right in the middle, I could care less. There's anybody behind them.
Yeah, I ain't never understood why you walk 3 wide and talk in one of the busy aisles on the main floor. You're just walking 3 wide at 1 mile an hour talking. It's like,
they're oblivious.
Yep.
Or just stop.
The world.
It's like, there's no one else on this aisle, but I'm going to come straight towards you, so you have to move over and go around me.
That's right. All right, so let's start sweeping the floor. Snob, you've been putting out. First of all, congratulations. You guys knocked it out of the fucking ballpark last week. Busted your ass, plus putting out a bunch of content. Excuse me. Great job last week. Plug anything you got coming up. I'm sure a bunch of videos, but tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, go over and find me on Instagram and on YouTube, and I've got a bunch of videos out. I've got like 16 or 17 out so far, and I don't know, maybe 10 more to go or so of stuff that wasn't as new or interesting that I just was kind of holding. So yeah, go watch that stuff. That's all I got. Thanks for having me.
Ashley, oh yeah, no problem. Now Ashley's got a great idea. Go get some like rollerblades and just hook on and grab onto the people's backpacks and let them drag you around the whole time. That's a great idea, actually.
I was thinking about getting one of those one wheels for next year and just cruising through there on it.
There you go. Jeffrey, you want to plug Gear Report? Tell me where they can find you and what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, gear-report.com, and we're covering camping and firearms and military vehicles and water sports and all kind of cool stuff. And if anyone wants to try their hand at writing and content creation, that kind of stuff, let me know. I'm actively looking for people to join the Gear Report team. Yeah.
He's looking to replace Clover and myself, so
he probably should, as little as I've done lately. Good Lord.
Oh, and if I can mention one thing,
sure,
that I forgot to mention from Range Day.
Which one?
Who the hell from the big Range Day? Who the hell thought the Hellcat was awesome?
Oh hell
yeah! I held it the boxy little grip and was like, really? People are getting excited over this?
Yeah. I didn't even shoot it.
I did, and it felt very poor in my hand. I didn't like it at all. I have biggish hands, not huge, but fairly big, and I will never, like, I'll shoot one again if I need to for a review or something, but I don't see myself ever willingly going out and picking one up to shoot it again.
Right. Jacob says, question for the panel: if you were to go to SHOT next year or in the future, it's a good question, that's why I'm bringing it up. Would you suggest going solo or in a group? I'll hit this one first. I think that you'll get more done if you're going solo as far as attacking the booths, but having a support group there in case you need a cameraman in case you get left at 3 separate fucking ranges on range day. You know, having a group available to you is wonderful, but you know, I always go by myself, so I don't know another way. Jeff, you and Snob, you were with maybe Obnoxious and Gary and Sarge a little bit here and there. I know Clover likes to work by himself, but Jeff, Snob, by yourself or using multiple people to cover booths?
I mean, I was 99% of the time was by myself, but we occasionally we'd run into each other or text or meet up or something, or you know, there were certain things we kind of ran together with, just, you know, like up in the pop-up preview, the 3 of us were together and Gary wouldn't respond to text because he heard we were trying to get him electrocuted with a glove, so he was ignoring us.
Now, would you bring, if you had an opportunity to bring an extra person as a cameraman or something, is that something you'd be interested in doing in the future?
Well, yeah, it'd be nice to have that, but I mean, it's not necessarily, but it'd be really nice to have it.
Yep. Jeff, what about you? Going by yourself at sometimes, but this year you and TJ were going together a lot. Which one do you prefer?
Bring a pack mule.
That's pretty much what TJ was.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he gave himself that title, so it's okay if I call it that. But the first year I went, I was by myself and knew almost no one. And every other year I've had a team of at least 4 people. And really, I always end up with like a team of 2, one person with me, maybe 2 at times. But it doesn't make any sense to me to have more than that roaming together. You know, 2, 3 people, better to just split up and cover multiple things instead of just being together. But the bigger picture is get friendly with people. Even if you go by yourself, get friendly with people as soon as you can, other content creators and writers, and eat breakfast with people in the press room, because it's hard to oversell how shot can beat you down. And you may be walking down the aisle and you see someone, you know, just that fist bump as you're walking by may be what you need to get you for a couple more hours.
Yep.
You know,
so, no doubt.
Or, hey, how do I find whatever? Do you know anyone at this company? You know, what's going on later today? Having someone you can talk to for those things, it makes a huge difference.
That's one of the things that, you know, Clover and I honestly don't think in 3 years that we have gone to a booth one time together. But what I enjoy about Clover is at night, at midnight, 1 o'clock, whenever the hell it is that we get home, we go outside and smoke, or we go smoke throughout the day, and having that decompression, that person to talk to about some of this stuff, and that helps a lot. Like you said, sometimes just getting shit out off your chest can get you through the second half of the day. So yeah, Clover, you've always worked by yourself, but you know, like me, I'm thinking about bringing someone with me next year, maybe 2 people. I think I'm trying to get Lance to come with me, right, and maybe someone else. But would you think about bringing someone in to help out?
Yeah, but even if I brought somebody to help out, I would not bring somebody to walk around with me. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I bring somebody, I give them a list, an itinerary,
take pictures, and go get swag, and
take pics, get swag, get B-roll, while I'm handling strictly the relationship stuff. I don't got to worry about.
Because that allows them to enjoy shot as well. Yeah.
So yeah, in a sense like that, you know, I will echo a little bit of what Jeff was saying there too, in that, you know, if you do go by yourself, and my wife, hopefully she don't beat me over the head for talking about this, but you know, that was one of her obstacles this year going in. You know, she's always had the gun gals and, you know, whatever, and had her, you know, had a little group and stuff like that, and so it was not as overwhelming as last year, I don't think, for her, but at the same time, she was trying to find that groove and that niche and that group, right? And she was able to do it. I mean, she networked and made contacts in the media room with a bunch of other ladies, you know, in the community and the industry and all that kind of stuff. So be personable. Definitely, reach out to people in the media room and talk with people and stuff like that. It's a very friendly crowd. And so, you will make friends, and you may not talk the rest of the year, but everybody on this panel has friends that are like that. We only see them at these shows. We only talk to them maybe at these shows.
But I only see Yamil up for a weekend, and I love Yamil,
Yeah,
every morning I look forward to seeing his happy ass face.
Yeah, and the second that you show up, it's a fist bump, it's a hug, and it's a conversation, and you're having fun, and it's like your next door neighbors, right? Or you grew up together almost. That relationship doesn't stop just because of that time delay in between, the times you see each other. So definitely make those types of relationships as well, and make relationships with people in the booths and with the companies and stuff. That's what drives us a lot. And we get fist bumps, or I'll say we take them out.
We're getting texts now. Now we're getting texts from people at companies. They're saying, "Hey, when are you going to smoke?"
Yeah.
And hey, I'll meet you down the smoking section, or I'll meet you at the food court at 1, or
where you at?
Whatever. And the relationships is, for me, that's what SHOT's all about, is relationships. Content's great. You can get all the content you want, but the relationships is really what, for me, SHOT's all about. And then that's why I love it. There are a lot of maybe negatives that people talk about SHOT Show. For me, it's still my favorite week as far as the YouTube gun community. Obviously, in my own personal life, I have other times that are wonderful. But as far as all this shit goes, SHOT Show is my favorite week of the year. And I like aspects of NRAM and all of that are maybe a little more laid back, but I cannot wait every year for October 1st to hit, because you start sending your stuff for getting your pre-approval for media, and then you just got to start looking for flights and houses. And at that point, I know, hey, it's right around the corner. I can see the light. And I love SHOT. So anybody have anything on closing you want to say, or are we ready to get out of here?
Shut it down.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you so much. Sorry that we were literally not on YouTube at all last week. Thank you for joining in. If you want to catch up what we did last week, we posted a ton of shit over on Instagram. So did Jeff, Clover, Snob, Obnoxious, Sarge, Gizzard Gary, that guy's wife, G-Webs, a lot of people. Bloke was there for a couple days, so go check it out. And thanks for watching live. If you're listening in replay or watching replay, thank you. Leave your comments below. It was just a fun discussion to decompose. The next several months is going to be crazy with the podcast. We've got some really cool, awesome people going to be coming on starting next week. So be looking out for that. We're getting some really, really good stuff going on the podcast. And I know Clover's got a bunch of people on the podcast coming in on. So thanks again for watching live. We shall see you soon. Semper Fi.